Selma Teacher 7, Mr. Berry here. This is lesson number 5 for the Network Control Operator class. Now today we're going to be looking at hardware identification as well as building a PC on a budget. So let's get started with the lesson. A+ computer hardware, building an Intel-based PC on a budget hardware ID review. We'll also be forming teams for our lab today. We will review a few of the hardware parts that we've looked at so far. For example, we're going to look at the central processing units. Remember, the CPU is the brains of the computer, where most of the calculations take place. The two main companies that make CPUs are AMD and Intel. CPU sockets. The CPU socket is the connector on the motherboard that houses the CPU and forms an electrical interface and contact with the CPU. Processor sockets use a land grid array, which is LGA, to connect with the motherboard. Small form factor motherboards. You'd have micro ATX, as shown here on this MSI board. And on this orange board, this is a gigabyte, and that is a mini ITX size form factor. And then we also have a mini STX, which is very small indeed. A motherboard is a printed circuit board containing the principal components of a computer or other device, such as a smartphone or a tablet, with expansion slots that can hold other circuit boards. Common expansion slots include PCI Express, both X1 and X16. The PCI Express X16 expansion slots, as shown here, are used to connect video cards to the motherboard. PCI Express X1 expansion slots are used to connect network, audio, and other adapter cards to the motherboard. Let's look at the common motherboard components. Starting at the very top, we see here the CPU fan and heatsink mount, which surrounds the CPU socket. Going clockwise, we see the DIMM memory slots. So this particular motherboard is a micro ATX motherboard, so it's a smaller form factor or smaller size motherboard, and it only has 2 memory slots. On many of the full size motherboards, we just call them ATX, they would have 4 or more. Then you have the 24-pin ATX power connector here, where the computer receives the electrical power from the power supply unit. On the PCI Express slot here, this is a PCI Express X16, so that would be for a video card. Down here we have SATA connectors, and there's 3 of those. That's where we would connect our hard drives. And then we have a CMOS battery backup. Then we have a BIOS flash chip in the PLCC socket here. Then we have the CPU fan connector. And here we have the input-output or back panel. And these are connectors for integrated peripherals so that you would be able to connect your monitor, keyboard, and mouse. Let's go on to the next section, budget systems. Last time in lesson number 4, we looked at building a gaming rig with a budget of more than $2,000. Today, I will look into a more modest build and look at performance versus cost of the CPU. Now remember, this will be only part 1 of a 2-part video. On the next video, I'm going to be looking at building machines that cost around $200. I will start with the CPU. Prices are from Newegg.com, and the performance benchmarks are all from CPUbenchmark.net. I will focus on 3 processors from Intel that were released within the last year. Starting with the Core i5 7600 Kaby Lake, going around $220. Next is the Intel Core i7 7700 Kaby Lake, and that one is for around $300. Next is the Intel Core i5 7640X, and that one is around $230. And then the last one is the Intel Core i7 7740X, and that one is about $330. So let's look at all the specifications for each of these processors. First off, we'll start with the processor name, then go on to the generation name, the number of cores, the frequency that they work at, the type of socket they fit into, the thermal design or the amount of heat that they put out, the performance benchmark, the price, and the CPU mark versus the price, whereas the higher number reflects a bigger bang for your dollar spent. So the very first one that we're going to look at here is the Intel Core i5-7600. This was made from using the Kaby Lake core, or that's the generation name. The number of cores is 4, so we call it a quad core. The frequency that it runs at is 3.5 gigahertz. Now here, generally speaking, a faster or higher frequency means that it can perform more instructions per second. So you usually would get better performance with higher frequencies. Socket, LGA 1151. So that's the type of socket that it fits into. So when you buy a motherboard, it would say 1151 on the motherboard name. The thermal design is 65 watts of thermal heat. The performance benchmark is 8,861. The price $220. And where's the CPU mark and versus price? It's at 40.3. Next is the Intel Core i7-7700. Again, this is Kaby Lake, so it's using the same core and it's from the same generation as the previous processor. It is also a quad core processor with 4 cores. It's running a little bit faster though at 3.6 gigahertz. It sits into the 1151 socket. It puts out 65 watts of heat, and look at that performance. It is higher at 10,812. The price again is higher at $300, and your CPU mark versus price is a little bit lower, so you're paying a little bit more for that performance, and it sits at 36. Next we have the Intel Core i5-7640X. Now this is using the Kaby Lake X core and generation. So we might think of that as a little bit newer processor here. The number of cores, well again, it's a quad core, so there's 4 cores. The frequency is a little bit faster at 4 gigahertz. The socket that it fits into is the FL-LGA 2066, so it's a different socket than what we had previously. And the thermal design is a little bit hotter at 112 watts. The performance benchmark is also at 9,337, so it's faster than the original Core i5 that we saw previous. The price is a little bit more too, at $230, and your CPU mark versus price is at 40.6. The last processor that we're looking at today is the Intel Core i7-7740X. Again, this is the Kaby Lake generation quad core, but look at the frequency now. It's even higher at 4.3 gigahertz. Now when things run faster, you know what happens. They get hotter. So that has to be taken into consideration. When you go with the X series, you have to buy your own heatsink and fan. So they make special ones for the socket 2066. Your thermal design is there at 112 watts. Your performance benchmark is at 12,305. So it's the highest on this list. And what would you expect from the highest? The highest price as well. So the highest performance equals the highest price. Makes sense to me. This one's at $330. And the CPU mark versus the price is at 37.3. So a good deal overall for all of these. The numbers tell a story here. If you are not going to be playing the most high-end games or creating long videos with your PC, then one of the Core i5s might just be right for you. Here we see the Core i5 of the X series. Now, after you picked out your CPU, you need to be looking at which motherboard to go with. Now, let's just say that you went with one of the processors that fit into the socket 1151. The next question, therefore, would be, which 1151 motherboards should we use? Well, there are over 1,000 motherboards that are designed for the socket 1151. So we will narrow our search to just the micro ATX and the mini ITX, which lowers our search to about 500 motherboards for the 1151s. Next, we will look at motherboards that take DDR4 2400 memory. That further reduces the number to just around 200. I found the MSI B250N Gaming Pro LGA 1151. I also found the Gigabyte GA Z270N Gaming 5 LGA 1151 Intel Z270 Mini ITX Intel motherboard, which will be our second one there. So let's look at these first two right here. I have them pictured here. The first one is the MSI motherboard. That is a micro ATX, so that's the form factor or the size that it fits in there, and that's for $80. Notice we have two memory slots so that you could go in and very easily put 16 gigs or even up to 32 gigs on that particular machine. You have a PCI Express X16 slot for a video card. You also have an M.2 slot for the newer types of M.2 storage devices. And that's kind of nice for upgrades if you didn't go with it today. The next machine here is the Gigabyte. Now this is on a mini ITX form factor, and you notice how much smaller it is from the other size there. That allows you to go with a smaller case. So if you're looking at putting this into a small room or a room that has a small desk or where a place that you don't have much space left, this would be a good motherboard to use. That one goes for $160. Again, we have two slots for memory. You have one slot for your video card, and you do have an M.2 slot as well. Now, let's say that you went with one of the newer Intel X processors. You'd then be looking for a motherboard that takes the FC-LGA 2066 socket. So here we have an example. It's the MSI X299 Raider. It is the LGA 2066 Intel X299 ATX Intel motherboard. Some things that you might notice is that this one takes 128 gigs of RAM possible. You could upgrade to that with these 8 memory slots. You have more than one PCI Express X16 slot. In fact, it looks like you have 4 of them there. So you can put up 2 or 3 video cards. And you also have multiple M.2 slots for extra storage options. Now let's look at RAM. The 1151 motherboards take DDR4 2400. The DDR4 is the 4th generation and today's DDR memory, and the standard memory type used for Kaby Lake processors. 2400 is the speed of the memory. The maximum amount of RAM in these particular systems is 32 gigabytes. Most would only need 16 gigabytes. I will use these for the paper projects that you'll see here in the lesson. The socket 2066 motherboards can take DDR4 2667 or even faster RAM. So here we're seeing 2 examples for memory that we can buy. On the left hand side is the memory that would go with our socket 1151 motherboard, and that is the G.Skill Ripjaws 5 series 16 gigs, and that would be a total of 16 gigs of RAM. On the right hand side we have the G.Skill Ripjaws 5 series. Again, looks very similar, but the speed is a little bit faster, and you notice the price is a little bit more too. Again, 16 gigs of RAM total for that side. Our next segment is all about storage. These motherboards can take the new M.2 type of storage devices, which are very fast and take up very little space. The fastest of the M.2 drives use PCI Express 3.0 X4. Now I would say that 256 gig drive is the minimum that I would use in any of these systems. All of these M.2 SSDs are from Newegg.com. So let's look at the very first one there on your left hand side. This is a Western Digital and it's called the Black 256 gigabyte performance SSD M.2, so that's the standard that you see here. It fits into the M.2 slot. The 2280, that's its actual physical size or form factor, and that one's going for $110. Next, if you want a little bit larger space, you get the WD Black 512, and basically everything's identical. It's the same size but twice the density of data, so that you're now at 512 gigs for around $200. And then the last one, if you really don't want to go out with a large drive, you have the Samsung 960 Pro M.2 1 terabyte drive, and this one will set you back close to $600. So let's put some of these paper systems together. Each processor paired with the lowest cost motherboard, 16 gigs of RAM, and 256 gig M.2 SSD drive. The first system that we get is on the extreme left hand side. You'd go with the Intel Core i5 7600 for $220. It'd be paired with the MSI B250M Gaming Pro motherboard for $80. And they have 16 gigs of G.Skill DDR4 RAM. That would set you back $142. And then you'd have the Western Digital 256 gigabyte M.2 solid state drive for $110. Altogether, that's $552. The next system is with the Intel Core i7 7700. That one is $300. Paired up with the MSI B250M Gaming Pro for $80, with its 16 gigs of G.Skill DDR4 RAM for $142, with the Western Digital 256 gigabyte M.2 SSD for $110. That one would cost $632. Then we have the Intel Core i5 7640X, which is $230. Pair that up with the MSI X299 Raider for $215, 16 gigs of G.Skill DDR4 RAM for $145, a Western Digital 256 gigabyte M.2 for $110, and that one would come up to around $700. If you want to go with the Intel Core i7 7740X, that would be $330, and all the same components that we just looked at with that nice Raider motherboard, 16 gigs of RAM, and nice M.2 SSD drive. That one would be around $800. Now, you'd add $145 if you want to go with 32 gigs of RAM. This applies only to the socket 2066 machines. You'd add $90 if you want to add the Western Digital 512 gigabyte SSD, and you'd have to add $80 if you wish to use the Gigabyte GA Z270N Gaming 5 motherboard. This applies only to the socket 1151 machines. If you wanted another combination, you may go back and pick and choose the best combination that fits your particular needs. Other hardware to consider, a PC desktop case. I found one for around $50. Of course, there's thousands of different computer cases out there. Just choose one that fits your style. You'd also need a heatsink for the socket 2066 processors because they don't come with one. Here's the Noctua for $65. And then the power supply unit. This is the Adtech VP450, so it's a 450 watt power supply, and this one would set you back around $43. Going back to hardware identification, let's look at a motherboard and see all of the slots, connections, and parts that we need to know in order to connect it to our case and other components. For this demonstration, let's look at the MSI X299 Raider FC-LGA 2066 Intel X299 SATA 6 gigabit per second USB 3.1 ATX Intel motherboard. Starting from the top, we have the CPU socket, and this is the LandGrid Array 2066. We have memory slots on either side, and these slots can take any type of the DDR4 memory that we see mentioned here. We have the 24-pin ATX power connection where it receives the electrical power from your power supply unit. Here we have the SATA connections where we can plug in optical disc drives such as DVD drives or Blu-ray drives, and we could also plug in other types of hardware such as hard drives or solid-state drives with our SATA connection. So we have some here, we have some more down here. Then we have the PCI Express 3.0 x 16 slots. 1, 2, 3, 4. Wow, that's a lot of them that are available on this board. Next we have the PCI Express 3.0 x 1 slot, and that would be something for like a network card. And then the other memory slots. And you also have an 8-pin CPU power connector. Let's now name the parts that we see on this motherboard. First off is a 24-pin ATX power connector. Now with this, we receive the power that's coming from the power supply unit. Then we have SATA connectors, 6 gigabits per second, and then we have more at the bottom of the board that we see here. So you can have 8 SATA drives like solid-state drives, hard disk drives, or even optical disk drives all in your computer. Next we have the fan header. There are normally 2 types of fan headers, one for the CPU fan and 2 or more for the case fans. Also, be aware that some fan headers are 3-pronged whilst others are 4-pronged. USB header. Note that the prongs are arranged with one missing in the upper right hand corner for your USB header. Now you have the audio header. Here we see the audio header, and please note how the prongs are arranged differently from the USB header. Next is the PCI Express X1. They're great for newer Wi-Fi network adapters. Then we have PCI Express 3.0 x 16 slots. Now these are used for video cards. Then you have the CPU socket LGA 2066. Then we have an 8-pin CPU power connector. The 8-pin power connectors are needed to feed the CPU electrical power. Then here we have memory slots. Now notice that these take DDR4 memory, and then the speeds are listed there. And then I have review terms. The thermal design power, or TDP, sometimes called the thermal design point, refers to the maximum amount of heat generated by the CPU, which the cooling system in the computer is required to dissipate. So if you have a number like 65 watts and you compare that to another unit, let's say that's 130 watts, the unit with 130 watts will put out twice as much heat and therefore will need a larger heatsink and cooling unit than you would see on the 65 watt system. Now this has been part 1 of looking at building a budget machine. Next time we're going to go into lower priced CPUs and look at some different options for motherboards and cases. Well, thank you very much for watching the video. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so already, and you may leave a comment. I'll appreciate that. Thank you again, and bye-bye.